Welcome to First Mover, your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and joining me are my co-host, CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets, Lawrence Lewitinn, and Managing Director of International Content, Emily Parker. Good morning. How's it going? We're seeing a bit of a bounce in Bitcoin again today.
Yeah, a little bit chugging along, pushing up above 35. No complaints for those who are long. A couple of regulatory news hurdles that we're hearing, but nevertheless, checking in on Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index is at 35,895. Bitcoin is up just over 4% over the past 24 hours, and the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is at 2175. ETH is also up on the day. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. So, I'm seeing all these regulatory news updates that are causing, for instance, in China, a bit of a crackdown and exchanges are leaving. We see that BTCC has shut down, the oldest exchange in China. OKX is closing its Beijing office. We're also hearing some news out of Mexico. But yet, Emily, we're still seeing a bit of a boost in the markets.
Well, I think that's that's proof that we're in some sort of, I don't know if it's a bull run, but that the market is active, right? Because if the market wasn't active, regulators wouldn't be trying so hard to keep it in check.
Yeah. Lawrence, you've been watching the markets. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I mean, I guess they're paying attention to this.
No,
I don't. No one knows. No, I don't necessarily know if the markets are particularly paying attention to this story alone. I think there's like a bunch of other things happening.
Right.
And it's just sort of, it doesn't seem to necessarily move on. Well, doesn't seem to necessarily move on this. It's up. I wouldn't necessarily tie the two together.
What do you think is causing the bounce then?
Right now, nothing. It's seriously, it's like, just
it's been in this 30 to 35 range, and now it's breaking up.
It peaked up above 35. Finally, that was the resistance level, and I take it for just the market looking for just maybe some small excuse to get a little more buyers and sellers. Yeah, but there's nothing.
It's more like we've gotten just so used to these wild price swings that like now things are just like relatively normal.
Yes.
Someone's like, "What's wrong? What's going on?"
Yeah.
But it's actually just resembling more of a normal market.
Why isn't it increasing by 20%
gain in anything would be like, oh, that's fantastic.
Why isn't it dropping by 20 the next?
Exactly.
Right. Well, Hong Kong-based crypto exchange Crypto.com is one of the top 25 biggest exchanges in the world in terms of trading activity. You may have handling about 330 million in volume a day. Perhaps our next guest will have an opinion on it. Joining us now to discuss is Crypto.com CEO Kris Marszalek. Welcome to the show, Kris. So you're watching all this news out of China. Yeah, great to have you. You're watching all this news out of China, crypto exchanges closing down there. That's not affecting you, or how do you see the fallout out of that from your perspective?
I mean, we have an approach which has been clear for a couple of years now. This is going to be a fully regulated industry, right? So we're in the business of securing licenses everywhere around the world to build a solid foundation for the business. We do not serve customers from China, so this type of news doesn't affect us. And frankly speaking, it doesn't even affect market all that much anymore, because this is, by my count, I think the 7th time China has banned Bitcoin and crypto. So the more frequently you do it, the less impact it has. I think cryptocurrency has gotten to the size as an industry that it's just impossible to just kill by governments, but it is going to be regulated.
We've been talking about China a lot on the show, and I generally agree with you that this just isn't the first time, and the market has bounced back from China cracking down. So I think you're right about that. But in terms of the shift in mining, this definitely is a pretty big shift, right? Most industry watchers think that, mining is actually shifting from China to other parts of the world. And what do you think the impact of that will be on the industry?
Well, the people who are in the mining business, they've been doing this for many years and successfully, right? So they do need to migrate these businesses overseas, and many of the large miners are already in the process of doing so. So there may be some, the hash rate may be affected short term, but they're just going to move to other places. And I think this is actually an opportunity for Bitcoin. And there was this. For many years, there was this narrative that all the mining is centralized in China and it's such a bad thing, right? So now it's not going to be in China. I think Bitcoin's going to do fantastically well without it.
Hey, Kris, while we're talking about China, one of the big vehicles that people have there to get into crypto is Tether, but you guys have a deal with USDC. Can you explain, first of all, what is that deal? And is it a vote of confidence in USDC? Or is it more a vote against the confidence in Tether?
First of all, I think that the team at Circle has done a tremendous job refocusing the business in the last couple of years, and they've been very successful with USDC. And they're very well known for taking a regulated approach to stable coins. It's all very transparent and safe, and we're excited to be working with them on a number of projects. One of them we just launched this week, where we enable users from 30 countries to wire US dollars to Circle, and they get USDC credited in some cases within minutes on their Crypto.com app or Crypto.com exchange.
But in terms of USDC, a couple of things. I mean, there has been some, some of their latest attestations haven't appeared on the site. I think there were some issues with that. But getting back to this issue with Tether, are you concerned in any way about it?
I think Tether could have been perceived as a broader issue for the entire industry a couple of years ago. But right now, you've got so many stablecoin alternatives, USDC being one that I think is doing exceptionally well, that it just doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm. Switching topics, as crypto infrastructure grows, so too does the marketing budgets, it seems, of many exchanges. For instance, crypto exchange FTX has been footing sponsorship deals with Major League Baseball, naming rights to the arena where the Miami Heat play. Coinbase factored in spending up to 15% of annual net revenue on sales and marketing in their Q1 earnings report. So you guys aren't going to be left out. You're partnering with Formula One to have a trackside presence at every race for the remainder of the season. What do you say about these crypto exchanges expanding their marketing, their sales, and your partnership with Formula One in that context?
We are thrilled to partner with F1. It's a global sport, and we're going to be very prominently visible next to some of the world's most iconic brands. So it's a global partner status, and there's only 6 other companies that have it. Cryptocurrency partnership. And I think there is a huge overlap in terms of the audience that is tech savvy and interested in crypto and in Formula One. So it was a natural partnership, and we're coming up with super creative ways of putting crypto front and center as a part of it. So you will see a very interesting new format for Formula One as a sport coming soon, presented by Crypto.com and whatnot. This is actually not the first sports deal. We are also sponsors of Aston Martin Formula One team. We are supporting Montreal Canadiens, who just got into the Stanley Cup final. We've done a deal with Serie A, the Italian Football League. And there is quite a number of these in the pipeline. And for us, it's a part of a broader strategy. As a company, our mission is to drive the world's transition to crypto, taking it mainstream, cryptocurrency in every wallet. We think we have a very powerful product, better than today's market leaders, and it's time to let everybody know. And we are committed we just crossed 10 million user mark in Q1. We continue to grow very strongly in Q2. We're committed to hitting 100 million users in the next 2 years. So obviously, you need to amp it up a little bit and make sure that the brand is visible.
So, Kris, along those lines, you mentioned the Habs sponsorship, the Montreal Canadiens. You can't watch a Canadiens game now without seeing your logo on the ice there at Centre Bell. So you bought it. You got that sponsorship back in March when the Habs weren't exactly considered Stanley Cup bound. Now they're in the finals. So if you don't mind me asking, how much did you guys pay for it, and was it a real steal?
Well, we don't talk about numbers, and for any of our deals, I think we're very happy with how it turned out. And we have a few more of these deals in the pipeline where we're also thinking about how the teams are going to do in the future. And in certain circumstances, you take into account kind of arbitrage value, the present performance versus potential future performance. So we're very happy with the outcome, and we're very happy with how they're doing.
Did it come with Did it come with a owner's box? Do you have extra tickets? Just asking
extra
for
tickets.
a friend.
Something let's take it offline on the extra tickets.
Work
something out.
Wait, evaluating on performance? You mean on the Habs performance, or just on the?
No, I'm talking about in general. When you're looking at different teams, right? You need to look at things like.
Okay, you might want to consider
where
the Leafs,
today?
Chris. The Toronto Leafs
are they going to be today?
I hear pretty.
He's fine with the Habs. He's fine.
Right. Guys, I know this is very controversial. Going after individual teams sometimes can be controversial.
Yes.
But that's one of the reasons why we sponsored F1 the entire
Go
league.
Leafs, go.
Go Habs.
All right, we got to end it there. But thank you, Chris, for joining us, and congratulations on your latest partnerships with the Formula One and that other one that Lawrence mentioned.
The great Habs.
All right, that was Crypto.com CEO Kris Marszalek. Coming up, checking in on Asia and crypto markets update with crypto derivatives firm Delta Exchange. Time now for the daily forecast and update on what's happening in the Asia crypto markets. Here's Angie Lau of Forecast News.
Welcome to the Daily Forecast, June 29th, 2021. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forecast News, covering all things blockchain. Coming up, metaverse funds are becoming the latest hot topic in South Korea. A decentralized theme park prototype hits Hong Kong, and Forecast News continues its new series exploring China's big bet on blockchain. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world. Well, metaverse funds are the hot new investment trend in South Korea, with the country's biggest asset management firms now scrambling to get in on the game. KB Asset Management leapt in first, launching their fund into this collective virtual shared world earlier this month. Samsung Asset Management followed just this week, and Murray Asset Management could be next as it is considering an ETF.
그래서 이제 자본 메타버스에 많은 자본이 몰릴 거긴 한데 개인 투자자들이 그런 부분에 대해서 직접 선택하기가 어렵다 보니까 아마 전문가들을 통해서 운영할 수 있는 펀드를 만드는 것 같습니다.
The metaverse is where the virtual world meets the real world, with big names including Roblox and Naver's Zepeto. Both are included within the first two funds to launch, as are Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft, who all sell or are developing augmented reality devices. Global consulting firm PwC is predicting that the virtual and augmented reality economy, which the metaverse economy is based on, will grow from $46.4 billion in 2019 to $1.5 trillion by 2030. Speaking of virtual worlds, could a theme park exist in both a metaverse and in real life? Well, that's the idea behind a new decentralized theme park concept that has just opened its doors inside Hong Kong's Ocean Park. And Forecast News' Lucas Caccioli was one of the first to see it. Children visiting can create avatars to explore a virtual world. It's just a prototype at the moment, but its developer, Immersive One, says it's not just for fun.
And we also can imagine that for kids, they can create their first NFT. Yeah, maybe at age 3 already. Right. And they can learn the crypto economy. Yeah, that's the thing there.
That's very educational.
Yes.
It gets them ready for the financial system of the future.
Yes.
Instead of swapping coupons for throwaway prizes in the arcade, the younger generation could earn digital currencies as credits for food or even entrance tickets for their next visit to the park by playing games. And as the blockchain supporting the decentralized theme park is public, visitors may eventually be able to trade their avatars on the open market. Okay, on to the real markets now. Today, as of 4 p.m. Hong Kong local time, Bitcoin was down almost 0.25% at just under $35,000 US. That's as the hash rate fell to its lowest level since August 2019. Analysis from Glassnode suggests that the Bitcoin mining difficulty adjustment could actually get easier by as much as 25% at the next reset on July 3rd. And in the top 10 for cryptocurrencies, on a mixed day of trading, Polkadot is up almost 6% and Ethereum is up almost 4.5%. And finally, in part 2 of our special 3-part series out today, Blockchain in Asia Defining the Race, Forecast News with support with the Judith Nielsen Institute's Asian Stories Project, explores how China's vision for a digital currency of its own is actually spread throughout the region and beyond. The race is on to lead not just the region, but the world in the blockchain and digital currency space. And Charles Dossi has been keeping a close eye on all of it. He's Asia Pacific Managing Director at Consensus, which is the enterprise arm that drives Ethereum use in the industry. His role is to help businesses and governments think about how to use blockchain. Dossi says it's a race indeed, just not a sprint.
It's a marathon, and there is many different topics of CBDCs. So we've seen through the COVID, Asia being hit first, but also recovering really fast. And we see on many other topics, such as CBDCs, Asia leading the way and building really the next generation of digital societies with CBDCs.
You can read part 2 of the series and see the full video report up now on forecast.news. And that's the daily forecast from our vantage point right here in Asia. For more, visit forecast.news. I'm Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Until the next time.
The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager.
Let's have our live look at Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index is currently trading at $36,134, now breaching that $36,000 barrier. Bitcoin is up almost 5% over the past 24 hours, and the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index also shooting up $21.95, just under $2,200 there. ETH is rising almost 9% over the past 24 hours. And joining us to discuss the crypto markets is Pankaj Balani, CEO of Delta Exchange, a crypto derivatives firm. Welcome to the show, Pankaj. So we see just now that Bitcoin is breaking that $36,000 barrier despite crypto flight out of China. Mexico's finance minister also confirming that crypto is banned from the financial system there. So what kind of tailwinds are we seeing that are causing this bounce?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I think we have seen very active selling in Bitcoin over the 2 weeks. And since the time base did IPO, they basically called the market top, right? Since then, we've seen a lot of pressure, selling pressure on Bitcoin. And we feel that it's like this for some time. So yes, we are on a bounce today. This bounce can extend. This can go till 40. We won't be even surprised to see it go to 42, 45. But having said that, Bitcoin is going to trade in a tight range for some time now, 30,000 to 40,000, maybe 45. That is going to be the range in which market is going to keep going up and down. Seen a lot of people come out and take advantage of this, selling the opposite spectrum of the range. Overall, we feel that we are not out of the woods yet. Yes, we are in a bounce, but we need to be careful. And there's a lot of interest to participants are looking at the price close. If it's not able to hold 30,000, then we can be in a.
So is it the whales that are selling? I think you noted that a while ago that whales were selling before. Are they still doing that? And is it the shrimp or the krill who are buying it now? We don't hear as much about institutions, let's say, buying.
Yes.
There was that Morgan Stanley piece, thing that they just bought a little bit of Grayscale Bitcoin shares, and that Grayscale, of course, is owned by the parent company of CoinDesk. But other than that, we don't hear much about institutions. So who's still doing the selling, and who's doing the selling and who's doing the buying right now?
So that's the thing. The primary reason for Bitcoin not going up is basically liquidity is kind of dried up. Now, the first half of this year, we saw a lot of flow. We saw a lot of institutional flow, institution here being corporate treasury. So we saw a lot of corporate treasury flow. Now that flow is not coming to market anymore. Earlier this year, when price was at 30,000, 40,000, companies, treasuries, retailers, all coming in to buy Bitcoin at this level. But that's not happening now. And that is a little worrisome. And this slowdown in liquidity is reflected in crypto, yes, but it's bigger than that. We feel that as economy starts to recover, it starts to sideline a little bit as things start to open up. The pace of growth of global liquidity will start to shrink. Central will start to pull out the money or taper the quantitative easing, and that is going to start reflecting in prices. So the excess liquidity that we have, or we had rather, in the first half of this year, that has kind of dried up, which means that there's no further interest to own Bitcoins level. We're seeing that we are having a tough time. In fact, it's going to be very difficult for market to climb above 50,000. And there was anyways few institutional bidders even. So that reason is probably going to stay range bound. And in case this is the action phase. This can be this 3 months. I'm not suggesting that we're in a market and that phase can stretch another 3 months. In fact, that market's going to stay here.
Yeah. Pankaj, we're getting a little trouble hearing your audio, so I think we'll wrap it there. But thank you very much for your insights and joining the show. All right, that was Pankaj Balani, CEO of Delta Exchange. Coming up, building Web3's search engine and checking in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor, Nick Day.
CoinDesk Indexes, the market standard for crypto assets since 2014. Our trusted data powers billions in publicly traded funds. CoinDesk Indexes are the standard used by institutions, and they're the key for investors looking to understand and access crypto markets.
As the company that launched the world's first ever Bitcoin ETF, we at Purpose chose the CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, the XBX, to price our assets.
CoinDesk Indexes enabled the early adopters to build crypto investment vehicles, and they're already trusted by a new generation of global investors.
Welcome back. Time to check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk, the State of Crypto newsletter. Welcome to the show, Nick. So Cathie Wood of ARK Invest, as well as 21 Shares, they're teaming up to enter the Bitcoin ETF race, trying to launch that Bitcoin ETF in the United States. But do we have any new contenders?
Hey, no. Cathie Woods is, I think, the biggest of new contenders. And yeah, this is, I think, like the 12th pure Bitcoin ETF application on top of several others. But, what's interesting is Cathie Woods actually, she's been long Bitcoin for a while now. Her investment vehicles have invested in not just, crypto direct companies like Coinbase, but also a lot of stocks, for companies that kind of dance around the crypto industry. So this is, I guess, another signal, that she at least sees, Bitcoin continuing its current bull run.
It just seems that so many have tried to file. I wonder if, with Cathie Wood entering the ring, it has a better chance or than any other that are trying to get into the U.S.?
That's the $1 trillion question. So far, I have seen nothing to suggest that Cathie Woods is going to shift the calculus for the SEC. The SEC is currently in the process of delaying as many of these applications as it can. We've seen this before. This is exactly what happened in 2018 when the last time there were a bunch of companies filing. So we're going to see the SEC, I think, continue to postpone decisions on a lot of these applications. probably the clearest signal we're going to get is when the Van Eck Bitcoin ETF application comes to its final due date, which is going to be around this fall. And I think that's when the SEC is probably going to publish something that's going to provide a much clearer picture of how it's viewing this. But so far, it's just kind of, punting this decision. And, various leaders at the SEC have expressed concern about market manipulation. So, that's going to still be, I think, the hanging issue.
So, Nick, another thing you're looking at is the NRCC is going to let people donate to Republican candidates indirectly using crypto. Are they trying to court the crypto community, or is it just a few guys in the Senate, and House who are really into it and are like, yeah, look, guys, let's have this happen?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, I spoke to Representative Tom Emmer, who chairs the NRCC, and he said that this decision is actually coming about because of donor requests. So, he's been a long-time crypto champion. He's accepted crypto for his own personal campaign since last summer, but this decision, at least, he says, was driven because people were asking, or saying, if you accept crypto, we'll take crypto. And
is this people trying to unseat Brad Sherman? People trying to unseat Brad Sherman. Okay.
I'm sure, given that this does seem to be, primarily Republican voters, I'm sure they're hoping to unseat, as many of the Democrats as they can. But yeah, it's, Representative Emmer did speak quite a bit about, people are still looking for crypto clarity from regulatory and lawmakers, or the lawmaker types. And this might be another move to kind of, try and encourage that.
Nick, quickly, how big a deal is this news from Mexico, this sort of supposed crackdown in Mexico? Is it something to be really concerned about, or is it overblown?
So my read of it, and this is the Mexican Secretary of Finance and Public Credit, Arturo Herrera, saying that banks cannot accept cryptocurrency or treat it as legal tender or otherwise, allow crypto into the financial system. My read of it is that this is just kind of a reaction to a banker and billionaire suggesting that his bank would accept Bitcoin. It also seems to be coming, at least in part, due to Mexico's report to the Financial Action Task Force, which a couple of years ago recommended, strict guidelines around crypto exchanges and how crypto should be treated, and recently announced that a lot of countries are still kind of, not there yet when it comes to compliance with these guidelines and recommendations. So I'm not sure that this is a portention of anything new yet. It does seem mostly to be a kind of a reaction to just a lot of the news coming out over the last week.
Mm-hmm. Interesting to see those developments out of Latin America. Thank you very much, Nick, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, that was CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Policy and Regulation, Nick Day. Don't forget to sign up for the State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com.
The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
Total locked value in decentralized finance sits at over $52 billion, according to DeFi Pulse. As DeFi presents an alternative to the centralized banking system, regulators are faced with the challenge of keeping up with fast-paced growth in the space. Joining us now to discuss is Tegan Klein, co-founder of Edge and Node, a software development firm dedicated to building the decentralized web. Welcome to the show, Tegan. So, last week, we saw that the International Organization of Securities Commissions hosted folks from the CFTC, the SEC, and DeFi exchanges as well, like Uniswap and DYDX. Regulators are trying to understand DeFi, and what they've said about it so far doesn't sound so good. The CFTC Commissioner, Dan Berkowitz, saying several DeFi apps could be illegal. SEC Chair Gary Gensler saying DeFi could raise a number of challenges for investors and regulators. Is a regulatory crackdown on DeFi approaching?
It seems that there's been talks about bringing a compliance layer into DeFi, but whether or not the market will accept that has yet to be determined. I think, regulators forcing a compliance layer will likely lock institutions like Grayscale and Galaxy out of the DeFi market, which will allow a lot of retail to kind of continue to get in ahead of those institutions. But the great thing about blockchain technology is oftentimes the regulations could actually be built into the code. And if you regulate one, we've regulated Shapeshift and added KYC there. A lot of new innovation comes. There's been many other DEXs that have arrived since that regulation has happened. Some that custody, some that don't. And instead of kind of stifling innovation, it's great to see that regulators are kind of speaking with and talking directly to some of the founders within the ecosystem to see kind of how founders and regulators can work closely together to kind of address the problems that are at hand in a way that's not going to stifle innovation.
So Tegan, thanks for coming on. For the folks at home who are watching and they don't quite know what the graph is, can you explain what it is, why it's important, why do we need it, and what it has to do with DeFi?
Yeah, absolutely. So the graph is the decentralized indexing and query layer for the decentralized web, for Web3. And so the graph, kind of like what Google does for the web, indexing all of that data, making it organized and accessible to us to be able to kind of search then the internet. The graph does that in the blockchain space in a decentralized way, allowing for developers to access blockchain data in an organized way and serve that data to their users. So the graph is the backbone of DeFi and many other use cases within the Web3 space, like NFTs, DAOs. So much innovation is happening, and it allows developers to have open APIs that then can kind of become Lego building blocks for innovation.
And it's not just one blockchain, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the graph currently supports 22 different networks. The graph started with Ethereum and has grown since then. So supports Celo, Avalanche, also layer 2s like Arbitrum and and Optimism as well.
Do you have a sense that there are a lot of newcomers entering the DeFi market? Because, in the past, DeFi has been relatively inaccessible or relatively incomprehensible, even by the incomprehensible standards of crypto in general. So are you seeing newcomers entering the market, and who are they, and what are they doing in the DeFi space?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing a lot of growth within the DeFi sector. So we've seen substantial growth from just 1 billion queries in June of last year to 25 billion queries in all of the Web3 space. But the majority of that is happening within DeFi. And the great thing that the graph does is it allows developers to focus on great user experience as opposed to kind of building out clunky indexing in-house. And so we're seeing applications that are actually starting to compete with centralized applications. And Uniswap, for example, is a decentralized exchange that's actually done more volume than certain centralized exchanges on different pairs. And so I think that that's one that a lot of people use. But I agree, we have a long way to go before our parents and grandparents use DeFi.
But just following up on that, sometimes you hear a lot of people like in the DeFi space saying things like, we're going to build the Google of Web3, or we're going to build the Amazon of Web3. But isn't the whole idea that this is supposed to be like a completely different world? And is it good to be sort of like using these sort of old companies as paradigms for what we're trying to build?
I think that's a great point. I think that you need to start somewhere with something that people understand. And so the graph, as kind of like the Google of the blockchain space, we are within the blockchain space. The internet wasn't created to monetize data or sell people ads, but that's what the internet is incentivized to do. And the blockchain space is removing that kind of centralized authority and bringing it kind of peer-to-peer in the ecosystem. And so we don't need to engage in those kind of wonky behaviors of selling data or ads. And the graph is actually making open data a public good.
So when will Wall Street finally adopt it, or at least succumb to DeFi? Do you have any estimate, if you had a crystal ball, how far along are we before let's say mortgages are traded on mortgage-backed securities are traded on DeFi?
Yeah, I think that some of that stuff is already starting to be kind of incubated. And so I would say probably a year or two out before a lot of that comes in. But it is true that a lot of these returns within the DeFi space, seeing 20% or, 30% APY is quite high I come from traditional finance. So from traditional finance. And so I think that those returns will likely reduce as Wall Street kind of becomes more privy to the blockchain space.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Tegan, thanks for joining us, and congratulations. You also had an announcement that you guys raised $60 million or got a grant by the Graph Foundation to build your project. So looking forward to seeing how that develops.
Yes, yeah, it was actually a core dev grant to Streaming Fast, which joined the Graph ecosystem as a second core dev. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Tegan. All right, that was Tegan Klein, co-founder of Edge and Node. Time now to check in with crypto Twitter and our tweet of the day. This one coming at us from FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, tweeting out a handshake emoji and tagging Tom Brady and wife Gisele Bündchen on news that they have taken an equity stake in his crypto exchange. Looking forward to talking about that with SBF. We'll have an interview out next week. That's it for First Mover. Thank you, Emily Parker and Lawrence Lewitinn. I'm your host, Christine Lee. I'll be back live at 3 p.m. with All About Bitcoin. Coming up at noon is The Hash. You're watching CoinDesk TV.